Hey, let's back to recording. This is Wednesday, the 17th of February, and Thursday, the 18th of February, and we just got past giant snowy times, and we're going to get into the more death of babies and fun stuff like that. And let's see, blah, blah, updated, and big weekend, yay, and cameras on, reminder for the home children, although it probably doesn't impact most of you right now, since if you're watching a video, who cares? Let's run through. Wait, anyone have to torture from last week? Who is here? No, you guys all have it turned in. Go you. Except for the kids skipping class, but they're special children anyway. So I'm going to run through this speedy version, and I'm going to try a new thing with you. Your shirt matches my tie. Spider buddies. Sorry, got distracted. Back up to here. On the first one, of the ones listed, who was the tallest?
Cyclops.
Scary, but good job, Cyclops, on that one. Good luck, Owen, if you're going to grab stuff. 2, how does Kronos prevent his children from overthrowing him?
Swallowed them.
He eats them. They were probably all, I saw that. They were probably also cheese-flavored children. 3, why was Prometheus part of Kronos' squad? Which plays a role.
Because he could see the future.
And then let's see, how does he manage to free the brothers and sisters?
The puke up potion.
The puke potion comes in. 5, why can neither side win?
Immortality.
And here's a role in today's story. And then your question number 6, your bonus question. This homework was easy as long as you paid attention. Yeah, to help you out on this one, by the way, for those of you who didn't catch it, I underlined the answer and highlighted the answer. And I know your thought is, Mr. BroviCast, who would miss that? And the answer is, yes, several kids. I actually had multiple kids miss that question, even though I tried to help them out as best I could, but some kids are just special. So here's how I'm going to try doing it this time. And eventually I might actually work gambling into this. We'll sort of see how things go. I haven't decided yet. But one of these questions, everybody bombed. Like we had 60% correct. 5 of them were in the 90%. One of them was in the 60%. So my question is going to be, can you figure out which one of those was the question that everyone bombed? When you've decided, hold up your fingers to represent the number of the question you think it is. Whether you think it's like 1 or 6 or 4, which one do you think is the one that was at 60% and all the other ones were at 90%? So one of them was almost half as good. All right, and then there, and here, we have, some of you guys were scared to vote. You're thinking kids bombed all of them. Let's find out. We have a 6, we have a 1, and a 3, and a 3, and a 4. Is that your hand side? Still a 1, a 1, a 3, and the correct answer will be 1. Big brain. Big brain. And yeah, the first one on the who was the tallest, that was the one that kids messed up on. Why? I have not the slightest idea. But
weren't the mountain giants the tallest? And not the Cyclops?
Yeah, that was the Cyclops one. But I think because I didn't put big ugly monsters on there, kids, like their brains just exploded. I had a lot of kids putting down Olympians and just random answers and just all kinds of issues from there. It should have, but it did not. They were. That's why I said of the ones listed, who was the tallest. Yeah. So yeah, the fact that almost everyone did really well on it overall was pretty good, except for that one question. I was kind of shocked on that one, but so be it.
I did the right one.
All right, go you. All right, so we should have this side finished by the end of my story today. So let's get into my story for today. I know we're a little behind in here, so I got to figure out where exactly we left off to get you there. Home children. I'm going to end up just booting a bunch of you here in a second because a lot of you guys, I can't tell if you're just trying to be sneaky when you turn off your cameras, but essentially I'm going to start telling the story and just booting you guys here in a second. When you find yourself gone, watch the video at the end of the day. Because I know in your other classes, a lot of teachers aren't constantly looking. I'm looking at my screen right now. So when you guys disappear while I'm teaching, it just makes it easy to get rid of you. So just let you know that while I'm teaching, I'm still looking at you, making eye contact. If you think you're being sneaky, then you're not honestly. All right. So we have, Humans. When Prometheus made the first race of humans, what two ingredients did he use? Dirt and water, not mud and water. That just makes really sloppy mud. But dirt and water, and that would make the whole thing together. So make sure you know the fact that dirt and water was used. Henry, yes, you can go to your something. Oh, that makes more sense. That yes, maybe do that. Same thing, Henry. That's there. Let's see, and we covered the three brothers. Prometheus, what was his special ability? There you go. And Prometheus was? There you go. Atlas was? There you go. And then also during the war, did we get to Atlas's other main job? So we'll come back to this with fear. So we have the battling thing. And the humans. We have the three of them. There we go. At this point, Kronos wants to prevent his children from overthrowing him. So I know, I follow with Big Boo Boo. And so we can't do the stabbing. Although stabbing babies is fun. We can't throw babies into holes, although also fun. So where does he put the babies? How many babies does he wait? How many babies does he think he put into his stomach?
6.
Correct. Estra, and then Hera, Demeter, Hades, Poseidon, and eventually we get to the rock named Zeus. And Zeus, instead of going into his stomach, where does Zeus go? Down to Mother Earth, raising him instead. Things end up going well until he eventually discovers that he has a whole bunch of siblings. And at that point, he realizes he wants to get all of his siblings back. So how does he end up getting his siblings back?
Puke potion.
Potion comes in. And as always, it was the girl that was super smart and comes up with the idea. And so she ends up coming up with the idea of the Pukey potion. Pukey potion. Pukey, there we go. And that's where throwing up comes in. He throws up not 6 babies, but 5 babies, and there you go. And this is 5 babies. Zeus then challenges Kronos to a fight, and it becomes Kronos versus all of Zeus and his siblings. They rise up, and this big battle breaks out between Zeus and Kronos. So instead of Kronos and his children, it becomes Kronos versus his children. All the gods end up having to choose sides. They have to either pick Kronos' side or Zeus' side. There are no neutral parties in all of this. All of them are like, hey, what are your thoughts on baby eating? And they're like, I love babies, they're delicious. Kronos is like, join my side. Other guys are like, no, we should not eat babies. No matter what, no matter how much salt you put on them, they should not go in your belly. They end up joining Zeus' side. Both of these sides are in this big battle fighting back and forth. And it eventually becomes known as Titans versus the Olympians. Kronos is going to be on the Titan side, and then Zeus is going to be on the Olympian side. No. And during this war, Kronos eventually steps down as the leader, and he eventually has Atlas step up as the general of the army. Kronos goes, you know what I am? I'm a really good king. What I'm not good at is leading all the fighting. Atlas says, I'm great at leading the fighting because, big and strong and smashy and stuff like that. So Atlas steps up and becomes Kronos and Atlas leading one side, and then Zeus and his 2 brothers on the other side. Who are Zeus's 2 brothers? Hades and Poseidon. Now, the girls also are in there fighting too, but we're also very sexist during this time period. So even though the girls are out there fighting, the boys get all of the credit. If that upsets you, then go beat up a boy, because you're absolutely right. It was very sexist during this time period. And so the fighting goes back and forth, but neither side can win. And why can neither side win?
Immortality.
Yeah, they're all immortals. No matter how much running around and stabbing and stuff like that you do, neither side is going to be able to win. So time goes by during this whole big fight thing until eventually we get to Zeus seeking out advice. And that's where we left off. So Zeus, eventually, this goes on for like 1,000 years. We have this giant battle happening between the 2 different sides. Zeus on one side, Kronos on the other, all of this fighting. And it goes on, and eventually we end up having all of the humans get destroyed during this war. because of all the fighting going on. No one cares about humans, like today. And eventually, they all get squished and killed. Because anytime Kronos gets really upset, he's like, you know what I can do? I can just go punch another god if I get too upset. So I don't really need humans during all of this. Zeus goes and speaks to his grandma. And who is Zeus's grandma?
Mother Earth.
Here's the problem with grandmas. Sometimes when grandmas get old, they get a little confused, and everything they say doesn't always make sense. So Zeus seeks out Mother Earth. He's like, Grandma, I've been in a fight with my father because he swallowed my siblings. I would like to overthrow them. What advice can you give me? And Mother Earth goes, he who releases the beast trapped within shall turn the tide of war. And Zeus goes, oh, you're crazy. Okay, I got you. And she goes, no, he's like, oh, I heard the words you said, woman. It just doesn't mean anything to me. And Zeus throws up his arms and then just leaves. The problem is, you guys know who she's referring to, which would be who?
Tartarus.
Yeah, the people down in Tartarus. But Zeus does not know they exist. But the moment that Zeus finds out about it, it changes the course of history. Now, as soon as he knows about it, he is going to win. And Prometheus knows it. Prometheus did this seeing it. Hang on. Thing stuck on my lip. Stupid fuzzy. Go away, fuzzy. Sorry. Now, Prometheus does this. Oh, snap. And goes, Cronus, things have changed. Look at me. He goes, I just did my na-na-na thing. I looked into the future, and it turns out Zeus is going to win. Something has happened, and things have changed. Not only is Zeus going to win, and you're going to lose, but anybody on your side gets tortured horribly. You have to go and apologize and call a truce. Cronus refuses. He goes, I think you're wrong. Prometheus goes, I can see the future. Cronus goes, you're still wrong. And he refuses to change. He goes, listen, it's not my fault that babies are delicious. When you dip them into ranch sauce, they go down, you eat like a whole bucket of them. And Prometheus is like, listen, you've got some problems. He goes, listen, I'm leaving and I'm going to go switch sides. And he and Kronos get into this big knockdown, drag out fight, and Prometheus leaves. But he wants to bring his brothers with him. So he goes to talk to Epimetheus first. He goes, Epimetheus, bad news. And Epimetheus is like, what? Squirrels? He goes, what? Oh, God, Epimetheus, no. He goes, listen, our side's going to lose, and we need to switch and go join Zeus. Will you join me? And Epimetheus goes, what about the squirrels? Epimetheus goes, oh, my. And he picks up a stick. He goes, Epimetheus, and he throws the stick. He's like, squirrel, and goes running after it. So he brings Epimetheus with him. So Prometheus and Epimetheus decide to switch sides, and they go and talk to Atlas, the third brother. And Prometheus goes, listen, I just did my future thing, and I see that we're going to lose. Not only we're going to lose, Atlas, buddy, you get tortured like horribly till the end of the time. You have to come with me. Atlas goes, Atlas, smash! And it hits the ground. And Prometheus is like, oh, what is it with my brothers? He goes, listen, you have to join me. Atlas refuses. He goes, listen, I am the general of this army. If I switch sides, I abandon my men. That is incredibly dishonorable. He's like, I cannot dishonor my name. Prometheus goes, don't you understand what's going to happen? He goes, it doesn't matter. I would rather get tortured forever than do a dishonorable thing. So Atlas refuses to switch sides, even knowing that he is going to get tortured. So Prometheus, with tears in his eyes, leaves Atlas behind and goes and seeks out Zeus. Finds Zeus's cave and knocks on the door of the cave because caves have doors. And he walks up. Zeus is like, yeah, who are you? He's like, my name is Prometheus. I used to be on Kronos' side. I'm here to join your side. And Zeus goes, oh, welcome. You have special abilities? He's like, yes, I can go na-na-na and see the future. And I'm the smartest god to ever exist. Zeus is like, done, you're on my side. He's like, wait, who's behind you? He's like, my brother. He's like, ooh, can he see the future? He just goes, No, not stop switch. No. He goes, does he have a special ability? Prometheus goes, yes, he does. Watch. Epimetheus, wall. He's like, ah! He just runs into the wall and falls backwards. He's like, yeah, he's on my team too. And so he brings over both Prometheus and Epimetheus. And as soon as they do, nothing changes. For a long time, nothing ends up changing. And Prometheus is confused. He's like, I saw the future. You're supposed to win. Why are you not winning? It's just like, you're a great teammate. He's like, I've wondered the same thing. So he and Prometheus sit down and have a conversation one day. And Prometheus goes, there must be something you know that you don't realize you know. He goes, and he describes the time where he saw the future and things changed. He goes, what happened to you around that time period? Zeus goes, I don't know. I talked to my grandma and she babbled at me. And Prometheus goes, well, what did your grandma say? It's like, something about he who releases the beast within turns the tide of war. He's like, I wake up every morning and I'm like, rawr, I'm a beast, and nothing happens. Prometheus goes, no, that's not what she's talking about. It's something completely different. Because what is it she's referring to?
Tartarus.
There you go. Now, Prometheus knows about them because he was one of the only people that Kronos told. So he goes, oh, she's referring to our elders that are trapped in this place called Tartarus. Zeus goes, what are you talking about? What elders? What's Tartarus? And Prometheus explains about this big underground pit and the fact that all these other gods are trapped down there, and that Mother Earth is saying whoever releases them is going to win. He goes, oh, you have a friend again. He goes, so you're telling me Cronus has known that they've existed this entire time and he's not released them? And Prometheus goes, yeah, he's known they're down there this entire time and he has never released them. He goes, why hasn't Cronus released them if all you have to do is release them to win? Prometheus goes, I don't know. Rumor is they're really ugly, like really ugly. Zeus goes, how ugly can they be? Prometheus goes, I don't know. Release them and find out. So that's what he decides to do. Zeus goes, you know what? I'm going to be the one to release them. I don't care how ugly they are. I'm going to release them and have them join my side. So Zeus finds out where this place is. So he can get down to this place called Tartarus. Finds the big cave, goes running down to this big cave, finds this place called Tartarus, goes in there, kicks open the door, and heads on in. Hang on one second. I keep booting kids out because they're just showing me their foreheads. So I have to put them back in after I boot them out. Because again, if you're not showing up with your face, I eventually remove you. All right. Finds the big place called Tartarus, kicks open the door. Walker's like, my name is Zeus. Like it's a really big group. He's like, and I'm here to free you so you can help me fight against Cronus, who has kept you trapped. And he walks over to the edge of the giant pit. He's like, ooh, what's in the pit? He was like, hey, all of you, holy bro. And he steps back, he's like, those are really ugly. And he's like, I mean, you said ugly, but I looked at it, and like part of me just died on the inside. I'm bored, so that's really impressive. He's like, oh, but I want to win. So he goes back over the edge, and he's like, hey, all right, go for it, Graham. Big ugly monster things. How would you like to become free? They're like, block. He's like, ooh, I don't speak monster. That sounds exciting. Here's the issue. When I look at you, I die on the inside. I want to throw my toes up through the front of my face because I no longer want to be alive upon looking at you. They're like, blaga. He's like, I know, looking at you makes me feel depressed also. But winning is more important to me. So how about we come to an agreement? They're like, blaga. He's like, here's my agreement. I will let you come out of the hole and be free, and you will help me kill all these other gods that have kept you trapped. They're like, blaga. He's like, I know, that's the good part. Here's the thing. At the end of the war, I don't want to look at you anymore because you're that ugly. So how about we come to an agreement where you go to the edge of the world behind the mountains and you hide so I never have to look at you. How does that sound? They're like, blaga. He's like, well, I know it could be sad, but I could leave you in here. And they're like, no, I meant blaga. He's like, okay, then you guys are, and he lets the big ugly monsters out, and they come up and they become free, and they get to run around up there as long as they help Zeus win. He then looks down the pit. He goes, whoa, the pit's not empty. He's like, who are you down there? And he has these creatures go, we're the Cyclops. He's like, oh, are you horribly ugly? They're like, well, we don't have mirrors, but we don't think so. He's like, well, if you're not ugly, why are you down here? I'm like, well, we have this ability to make weapons that are so powerful they can kill the gods. And apparently that's, Zeus goes, whoa, 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 whoa. You can make weapons so powerful they can kill the gods? They're like, yeah. He's like, you want to be on my team? Like right now? They're like, yeah. And he's like, done. And he brings the Cyclops out. He's like, you're on my team. High five. And so he brings the Cyclops out to join him also. So these are the weapons that he releases. The Cyclops and the big ugly monsters are the weapons that he releases so that he can end up winning. And it works. The big ugly monsters are so strong and powerful and ugly that they would literally just walk over to Kronos' area and just go boom, boom, boom. Hi. They're like, ah, they would just throw up all over the place. That got some of the gods to switch sides. If they weren't switching sides from throwing up, the monsters would just pick up a mountain, ka-chunk, smash, smash, smash. Hi. They're like, and Zeus would then walk by, hey, you ever not want to get smashed by a mountain? Join my side. My side is no smashing zone. And a lot of the guys are like, oh, join your side. And a lot of the gods end up switching and joining Zeus's side because of that. But he's not done. The Cyclops then decide to use their special abilities to make a special weapon for each of the three brothers. So each brother gets their own special weapon to use in the war. What about the girls? The girls get to hang out with a brother that has a really special weapon. That seems kind of sexist. That's because it was. So Zeus is the one that the Cyclops like the best because he's the one that freed them. So Zeus, they're going to give the most powerful and bestest weapon to. And what is he going to get? Close.
Thunder.
A bucket.
Bucket.
So they give him a bucket of lightning bolts. Because apparently you can't just make lightning bolts because that's wildly ridiculous. But you can make a bucket that you stick your hand into, and then it becomes electrified, and you can fling it at people. And so you become like an. And hold on 1 second, oh, you got lucky. Right as I got ready to remove you, you popped your head back up. All right, be careful on that one. He's going to disappear again. And so I did research. I was actually able to track down what they think the bucket looked like that the Cyclops made for Zeus back during this time period. This is what they believe the bucket was that they handed over to him, that you could reach into it and then pull out the electricity and fling it at people to do damage to them.
Where's the price tag?
Well, back then they had like the badge. I can't read. So then we get to Poseidon, who got the second good weapon. And what weapon does Poseidon get? This is the trident that comes in.
Trident.
For the trident, we make it for Poseidon. It allows him to do like 3 different things. One, it allowed him to control water, just water in general. He could have giant like tsunamis and tidal waves and go splashy splashies. 2, it allowed him to control anything in the water. So any of the water creatures and beasts and monsters, as long as they had contact with the water, he can control them. The third important thing it allowed him to do is whenever they had a cookout, he could cook 3 hot dogs at one time, which was crazy. And all the other gods thought he was the boss. Then at the end of it, he could then use the trident as a fire extinguisher and put the fire out. And they're like, "You're the best." He's like, "Thank you." So the third brother, before they, who's the third brother? And they get ready to make Hades a weapon. Like, so what kind of stabby thing do you want? Hades goes, well, here's the thing. Usually when the fighting breaks out, I like to go into the corner, curl up into a ball and cry. Like, what do you have that can help me avoid humans and curl into a ball and cry? And the Cyclops was like, well, that's going to be a bit tougher. We have it. So they come up for him, So to allow him to curl into his ball and hide? No, but good guess. Even better. An
Hat.
invisibility helmet, technically called the Helm of Darkness, that whenever you put it on, you would disappear. For those of you who are your Harry Potter fans, it was very similar to that same idea of the cloak and invisibility. You would put it on, and then you would disappear. Same thing with him. He would put it on, and then he would also end up disappearing. Except I also looked up a picture of it for you, and I managed to track down both a picture of the helmet itself and Hades wearing the helmet. Again, it was not an easy thing to locate, but this is the picture of the helmet, and then you're also going to see a picture of Hades wearing the helmet, which I was pretty happy with. So it gives you an idea of what it used whenever he would attack people. You can see it's right there. Now with this one of his favorite attacks was he put the helmet on, and then he would go around on his hands and knees and tabletop the other gods. And that's when you would go on your hands and knees behind their legs, and the other gods would push them, and they would fall backwards over you, and then Hades would get up just laughing, and then just run away. They're like, what did I just fall over? And he thought it was hilarious. Now again, if you look over here behind where Ellie is in my picture of Hades, and you look up, if I point to it, so this is Hades here, and if you look into Hades' hand right into this area, you'll see me making fun of you because you still can't see it. It's an invisibility helmet. If you could see it, it wouldn't be there. Sorry, home children. I'm just making fun of children here. You have to forgive me. It's okay. And so that becomes the invisibility helmet on that one. So now, with them having all of these weapons at their disposal, and the big ugly monsters, and the Cyclops making just normal weapons for the other gods, it starts to finally turn the tide of war. And the other gods start leaving Kronos' side and going over and joining Zeus' side, one after another, like, hey, I think eating babies are delicious, but you know what's better than eating babies? Not dying. They're like, I think that outweighs baby eating. The other guy's like, well, that's a pretty good point. And so they start switching over. Eventually, once Zeus has enough gods on his side, he declares himself the winner and takes over Mount Olympus as the new king of all the gods. At this point, he has now won, and Zeus is the new leader of everything. At the end of the war, what is it that two things. One, all the gods who fought against him, he has a place to put them. Because where is he going to put all the gods who fought against him?
Tartarus.
In Tartarus. Oh, one, I forgot again. All the humans died off during this war again, so we have no more humans because they were squishy. No one cares about people. That's what my parents told me. So all the gods who fought against him, he throws them into the pit of Tartarus, which might not sound bad, but imagine that you get grounded by your parents, but as opposed to being put into your room, you're just put into a hole in the ground with nothing to entertain you. You're like, how long am I going to be here? You're like, until you die. You're like, oh, how long is that? Never. You're like, oh, and you're just thrown into a hole for the rest of time. So that was the game that Zeus was playing when he chucked all of them in there. Now, big ugly monsters, where did the big ugly monsters have to agree to? And they happily did. The big ugly monsters went to the edge of the world, hid on the edge of it, and then just disappeared. It was thought during this time period, if you found a way to get to the edge of the world, there was a mountain range that went around the outside edge. If you got to that mountain range, climbed over the mountain range, you would find the big ugly monsters literally just sitting there, they're like their little feet just going, just like kicking back and forth, just going, and just playing patty cake forever. And that was just a thing that was going on. The Cyclops went and found a mountain, and they just went and crawled into the mountain and just go there to hide. They're going to show up in another story here coming up in a moment, but for the most part, they just sort of fade out, disappear, not to be seen again for a while. At this point, Zeus is the new king of all the gods. He takes over Mount Olympus. But during the war, the sky up here was starting to fall because it was balanced on top of the mountain. And during this great big war thing going on, this mountain started to get destroyed, and the sky started to shimmy and shake back and forth. Zeus was afraid that the sky was literally going to slide off and then just crush everything. So he had to prevent the sky from sliding off and crushing everything. So he decides to make that one of the gods' punishments. He's going to make a god go up on top of the mountain, lift the sky, and just hold the sky up there the entire time.
That was Atlas.
And that would be the god that was the strongest god and the one that led all of the people fighting against him. So he comes up with this special punishment for Atlas, where he's going to force Atlas to go up on top of a mountain, lift up the sky, and hold it onto his back. Mr. Broviak, he's not holding the sky. You're right, because when you're sculpting things, it's hard to sculpt the sky, because I'm holding the sky. It just looks weird and awkward. So they usually show him holding like a globe or a ball, because if not, it looks like that. It comes across looking kind of strange. And so that becomes Atlas's punishment. He goes up onto the top of this mountain, lifts up the sky onto his back, and then just sits there and holds it until the end of time. Here's the problem with that particular punishment. Let's say this happens in the classroom, and I get mad at Max. And I'm like, Max, you're the horrible child. How dare you talk all the time? I'm going to punish you today. What's my punishment? I'm like, I'm going to lay on the ground, and you're going to hold this 25-pound weight with full arms extended above my head. You're like, how long? I go, until the end of time. What's one of the first things Max is going to do?
No.
Well, I could. That's not punishment. But if you are forced to hold a weight above your enemy's head as a punishment,
Drop it.
yeah. Now, kudos to you guys. This is the first class where I asked that question. I didn't have 5 kids go, drop it and kill you. Like, that was like the first thing they all thought. You guys were like, I don't know, Mr. Broviak, we don't want to hurt you. My other classes, death was like their first answer that came to them. So thank you, you guys, for not wanting to kill me right away. Zeus realizes the same thing. If you go, your punishment is to hold a heavy weight above my head, you're going to go, oh, splat. Are you dead? Okay, I can leave now. It sucks to be you. And then just walk away. So Zeus gets creative. And he goes and tracks down Atlas's daughters. And Atlas has 9 daughters. They're named the Hesperides. They were all down in Tartarus with all the other gods that were down. He goes and grabs these 9 daughters, brings them out, and brings them up to the mountain where Atlas is. And goes, Atlas, I am going to let your 9 daughters go free. I'm not going to punish them at all. As long as you hold the sky, as long as you're holding the sky, they do not get punished, even though they fought against me. Because what is Zeus thinking? Exactly. If he drops it, he kills his own daughters. So Zeus is like, you can drop it and kill me. It's like me sitting next to Max going, yep, now you're punished. And I'm going to hold this puppy right next to my head. Never mind, except for Max. He's like, puppy! It goes even harder. But for the rest of you who are anti-puppy death, that might be the right way of doing it. And so the daughters get to live up there, and they can visit him whenever they wanted to. And it prevents him from dropping it and killing Zeus and the other gods. Now, Zeus and the 2 brothers decide to split the world into 3 kingdoms. Good job, yellow child. So they're going to
Overworld and
the sisters also get to hang out with the brothers who are splitting the world 3 different ways. Because again, sexism. So at this point, the 3 brothers decide to split the world into their different kingdoms. Zeus says, I'll go first and I'll take my kingdom. He goes, look around you. What do you see? They're like, I don't know, land everywhere. He goes like, yeah, that's mine. They go, what now? He goes like, yeah, everything you can see is mine. That's mine. That's mine. That's all mine. Like, what happens if I look up? He goes, that's mine too. And so Zeus takes everything that's on the land and in the air. He goes, that's my area. They're like, okay, that seems fair. And then Poseidon goes second. And what does Poseidon want?
Ocean.
Yeah. Poseidon's actually fine with that. He's like, that's fine. He's like, I didn't want anything there. He's like, I want everything in the water. He's like, I've got my new hot dog cooking stick. It allows me to control the water. He's like, I don't want anything on the land. Specifically, Poseidon wants the ocean. He gets everything in the water, but he really does not care about like ponds or lakes. He lets God do that. He really only wants the ocean because that's where like the big things are. And then Hades is the last one.
Tartarus.
And Hades, for my kingdom, I want something where there's not anybody in it. Zeus goes, you want a kingdom with nobody in it? And Hades goes, well, I don't want to talk to people, so yeah, give me an area where there's no one around. And Zeus like under the ground? And Hades goes, is there anyone down there? He's like, well, in Tartarus. Hades goes, do I have to talk to him? Zeus goes, no, I don't want you to. Hades goes, that's my area. I get that area. That's mine. And so Hades takes everything under the ground. Again, not forced to. He's happy to do it because everything under the ground, there ain't people there, which is winning for him. He's all kinds of excited. So, and he also becomes the richest of all the gods because that's where the gold and diamonds and jewelries and stuff like that all comes from the ground. So he becomes the rich god. And so up there, you have Zeus, everything that was on the ground in the sky. Poseidon, everything in squishy land. Hades, everything in the scary dark lands. And the three of them have now split the world up. Mr. BroviCast, you never saw what happened to Cronus. You're right. After the war, nothing bad happens to Cronus. He escapes, which is really weird in Greek mythology. All these bad things happen. Nothing bad happens to Cronus. Some stories say that he goes and hides in Italy. Some say that he goes on the why Italy? I don't know. Some stories say that he goes on the other side of the mountains with the big ugly monsters. Some said that he goes out and lives on an island in the middle of the ocean. However you look at it, there is no story of him being tortured. He just disappears and is fine and happy with that. So now, Zeus is the king of all the gods, goes up to Mount Olympus and says, my job is to start filling in these thrones. How many thrones are there? 12.
Wow.
So who are the first 6 to get thrones?
The 3 girls and the 3 brothers.
Here you go. Zeus's brothers and sisters are going to become the first 6 to get thrones. He fills in the rest of the thrones, but that's the thing we're going to get to in just a moment. So hang on. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a 3-minute standing break, and then we're going to come back because at this point, you should have everything answered down through number 38. If you are missing an answer through number 38, you're going to be welcome to ask in just a second, and I'll be more than happy to help you. I'm not answering you. I'm going to make the other kids in class answer you. That way you know that they're all there. Now, I will tell you, there is one question that I've not officially told you the story about yet. So we're going to see if you guys figure out which one I've not officially done yet. But we'll save that here for a second. So hang on. Let's go in. Hang on. Don't distract me yet. Pause. And we're back. All right. So home children, we're back. Again, if you get yourself kicked out, then you know the reasons why. We're going to go through and answer some questions. If you're a home child, hopefully you'll be able to hear. Let me know if you cannot as kids ask questions. If you have a question on one of the numbers, here's where you get a chance to ask that question. But realize again, I'm just going to be having other kids in class try to help you out. But again, we should have them all the way through 37. It's just you might not realize you have all the answers to 37. All right. Do I have anyone that does not have one and you would like to have us try to help you, whether living children or home children? Lave, what does 32 say? Name and describe the 3 fates. Well, let's do the descriptions first because we should know those. Because what does the first fate do? Not measures. Grabs or makes the string. What does the second fate do? Measures. What does the third fate do? Cuts the string. So those are what the 3 jobs are. For the names, that is where this paper comes in. You get to find the fates on there, and then it tells you who they are from there. So you have to be able to use more than one paper to look up. So this is the paper to find their names. Now, I've told you the names before, but I'm assuming most of you guys don't remember them, which is absolutely fine. But if you look on that piece of paper, you'll find all the names of the fates on there. Yeah, it's an assignment you're turning in. But it's just not for another couple weeks. I don't know. And any other questions? No? What does 23 say? So who was the first god to switch sides? Why did Prometheus switch sides? There you go. Prometheus switched sides because he could look into the future.
Oh wait, then when does he get tortured then? Because didn't you say he gets tortured?
Prometheus? Horribly.
Yeah.
So he's friends with Zeus for a while before the torturing happens. And then he's going to do a thing that makes Zeus mad. Then the torturing happens.
Okay.
Can you do number 34?
What does 34 say?
Describe the two messengers of the gods.
Who is the first messenger of the gods? Hermes. Because who does Hermes work for? Works for Zeus. Now the problem is Mrs. Zeus also has a messenger. Who is Mrs. Zeus? Hera. Now, one, if you look at the very top left corner of your guys' words, one of those was a god that we talked about whose job was being a messenger. So you have to look in those top 10, those words that we first defined, and it was a messenger in that part. So on the blue sheet, what I'm talking about here, one of those is a god. So on the blue sheet, one of those was a god that we talked about. It was also on the white sheet that you guys had to do that classifying of the 20. There was a god we talked about who was the rainbow god. That every time she came down to Earth, she left a rainbow trail behind her. You know which
Iris.
god that was? Who?
Iris.
Correct, Jeriel. Iris was the rainbow god and the messenger god. She was the messenger god for Hera. I-R-I-S. Iris. Not this part. Once you've done this part, you get to move on and be done. So if you have questions up to 37, today is your time to ask them. If not, I get to go on to my next story. So,
can you do the last?
hang on, Mina. Did you do it? What does 36 say? So, how many thrones on Mount Olympus? How many big posters in my room? Do we think there's a connection?
Around like 24, could you have a copy of 2 posters of each god?
What I said, how
Around
many big
4.
posters? And there's only 12 big posters. So those are your 12 gods that's sitting on the thrones. That's why I kept telling you guys that those big posters, the big ones, and the big ones for home children, the big posters, the ones over there, those are the big posters, not the little posters that are over there. Those are different. But the big posters, there's 12 of those and 12 gods. So those are the same ones. All right. Kate, what does 33 say? The muses. First off, how many muses were there? 9. What did the muses do? Kind of. What about music and art? Ooh, that sounds like a very boring definition. What does that mean? Yeah. Hey, what? Works for me. They're the ones that inspired humans by possessing them like ghosts. So they inspired the humans to do stuff. Not really, it's because you would not even know it was happening. I mean, you could try, but I'm not even sure how you go about trying. Correct. As in, like, what do they do? As in, correct. As in, like, what did they do? They were the guys that controlled the arty stuff. Ellie. Who was the god of victory? Nike. The shoes were named after Nike. God of victory, wear my shoes and you become a winner. Mina, now it is your turn, Mina. What's up?
Can you do 31?
What does 31 say?
Who is the god of promises and sworn oaths, and what new form do we know her as now?
You are the winner, Mina. That is the one I've not done yet. So let me cover 31. That was the one I was waiting for a kid to ask. Now, we know part of this story. Let me give you guys the rest of this story. We already know who the god is because this is the god that changes shape and becomes a river. What god became a river? Styx, S-T-Y-X. It connects to this part of the story. So during the big war between Zeus and Kronos, Styx was this incredibly impressive, fierce fighter who, at the whole time the fighting was happening, Kronos kept trying to entice her to come over to his side, kept dangling things out there, like, hey, come join my side, and she refused him every single time. So at the end of the war, Zeus decides to reward her. He goes, hey, you know what? One of the things I'm going to do for you is give you a wish. You can have anything you want. What was the wish that she wanted?
Turn to a river.
Turn into a river, which is really weird. He's like, okay, fine, a river, boom. But what happens to the river because of her personality?
Toxicity. It turns poison, and you have to put it in Tartarus because how deadly it is.
It was because her personality was so awful, it becomes toxic and poisonous. Originally, he put this river into just a random forest, but it kept killing everything. So he ended up moving the forest. Like, where can I put, sorry, not moving the forest, moving the river. He's like, where do you put a river that keeps killing people? The only safe place to put it would be
Tartarus.
underworld. Tartarus and Hades. Hades is great with it. It is not an insult to him at all. Because when Zeus asked to put it down there, Hades goes, yeah, because he puts it between Zeus's kingdom and his own kingdom. So once Styx River is in place, nobody can cross and come into Hades' realm without his permission. Not even gods. The river Styx was so powerful, it could even kill a god. Well, not kill a god, but it would damage and hurt and make them uncomfortable. The other thing that Zeus does for Styx, it says, because you refuse to switch sides and stay loyal to me, I'm going to make you the god of promises and sworn oaths, which means anytime someone makes a promise and uses your name, they cannot break the promise. Here's how that works. If you are a human and you swore on the river Styx and you broke that promise, you can be legally killed with no repercussions whatsoever. So if Kate told me, Mr. BroviCast, I'm going to have your homework tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, Kate, whatever. She's like, no, I promise on the river Styx. I'm like, ooh, game on. And the next day, Kate shows up. She's like, oh, I forgot it. I can just take my sword and just go, swap, and then chop off her head. You're all going to go, what did you? I'm like, hey, river Styx. You go, hell yeah, sucks to be her. Because legally, that's what would happen if there was no fighting against it. It was that powerful. It even went against gods. Now, we couldn't kill a god, but they did the next worst thing. If you were a god and you swore on the river Styx and you broke that promise, instead of killing you, they would instead send you down to earth and you had to live as a human for 10 years. For them, they thought that was worse punishment than death. So because of that, gods would never swear on the river Styx, or if they did, they would not break it. And we have a story coming up that's going to involve a god swearing on the river Styx, and then a bunch of things happen. So that's going to be along those same lines. So that is our god of promises and how it connects. Zachary. I didn't tell you. I told you how to find them. You have to go on this handout and find where it says fates and then track down the names that way. And it makes you a better person. Ellie. Who was Zeus fighting?
Cronus.
There you go. See, I told you this was in your brain, Ellie. You have to have faith. All right. Little brothers, they're the worst. All right. So we're good? No other questions from there? All right.
Dang, you just called me the worst. I don't know.
You might be the worst. I was not referring to you yet, although I don't want to take that away from you. All right. So now we get to go to my next thing. Zeus is now the king of all the gods. At this point, he decides to start filling in the thrones on Mount Olympus. Here is where your other piece of paper comes in. You are going to create a chart on this piece of paper. We are going to be writing down a, sort of like we did last time, although this one only has 3 columns. A column that says God, a column that says, why is this covering up my columns? There you go. And one that says the action and one that says what you say. So God, action, what you say. And then 12 rows going across, one for each of the gods. This is the thing you are going to have to memorize. And you're going to have to memorize the 12 gods, what they are a god of, and we're going to memorize a hand sign to go along with each god. Are we writing this down? Yes, this is the thing you are writing down and not losing, because we're going to be using it again next week also for both days. And if you don't have it, then I have to charge you points and be mean to you. He says, watching the 5 kids at home who are busy staring off into space, trying to help them out. So you're going to do 1 through 12, not through 5. I had to stop at 5 because I ran out of room. You're not running out of room because you're going all the way down to 12. And I'm going to tell you each of the gods, the random piece of paper you got out. So, yeah, sounds like a you issue. So we're supposed to have that piece of paper we did on the other one. We had like the 20 gods with the different categories. You're supposed to find that one or get out a new piece of paper. Look into that giant backpack thing for paper. There. And then this screen is getting ready to disappear. You feel strong with that? Me too.
What did he say?
I feel the same way, Jerry. All right. So for each one of these, we're going to figure out the god, what they are the god of, and then a hand sign that I can use to remind you. So if you get to Zeus, you're like, oh no, Zeus was the god. I can give you a hand sign. You're like, oh, and that's going to bring things back to you. That was not the actual hand sign. That's just to confuse you. I did not know you guys were going to pay that close attention to it. Although some of my hand signs might be that cool, we'll figure it out. So the first god to get a throne on Mount Olympus is going to be, Zeus. He's the one giving out the thrones. So he gets to list himself first. He's like, I call dibs on firsties. And so Zeus is our first one. What is it we're going to say for Zeus? Well, compared to all the other ones, what is his job?
God of lightning.
There you go. He is king of all the gods. Now, you don't have to write that down exactly, as long as you know he is king of all the gods. You could call him God of all the gods. You could call him King Mac Daddy. You could call him Papa Daddy of all the gods. You could call him ruler of the gods. You can call him that really big tough guy that controls everyone. All of that works for me. Henry, are you raising your hand or trying to touch the ceiling? I couldn't quite tell what you were doing on that one. I think you're just playing with your hand. Okay, just wanted to make sure. So we heard Zeus, king of all the gods. The hand sign that's going to go along with him. Almost every time you see a poster of Zeus, that poster, this poster, he's doing the same thing in almost all of those posters. There you go. So that's the same thing you're going to be doing, holding a lightning bolt, getting ready to smite someone. So here's where you hold your lightning bolt, and then you have to point to the person that you're planning on smiting. You're going to go, Zeus, Mac Daddy, King, God, Man, Thing. And then you point them in that direction. Now, be careful. For those of you who are smitey people, you hold up your smitey hand. If you have a pencil in your right hand, then don't follow through with your smiting and be like, I smite thee. Shoot. Oh, you're a unicorn. And then end up throwing them or turn them into a pirate. Then I can start calling you Patch. So when you do it, when you memorize all 12 gods, you're going to stand up bravely and proudly in front of the room, and you're going to do the same thing. Zeus, king of all the gods, Mac Daddy, Man Thing, whatever it might be. Our next one to get a throne is going to be nicely done. I like your guys' sexism. Here's the problem. Poseidon's not the next one. Because Zeus tries to give it to Poseidon, but when he does, another god goes, is correct. Hera gets the second throne. Because when he tries to give it to Poseidon, Hera's like, oh no, boo-boo, we're not doing that. He's like, I'm sorry, Mrs. Me. She's like, that's what I thought. And that's where we're going to stop. We're going to get to describing Hera next week and her hand sign and all of that fun stuff, but that's for next week. We are going to do gang signs. Zach, when we get done, which in theory should be the end of next week, then we get to have a really big quiz next Friday, which is like 15 questions. And then we're going to start having you guys do B points. If you can go through and do all 12 gods, you get B points for being able to do it correctly, or a piece of candy. I mean, for those of you who are on
Piece of
Zoom, I
candy.
a piece of candy. I mean, I can smash it against the camera, but it's not going to do a whole lot of good. So I can give you guys the B points, or we can do the candy. All right.
Nice
So,
try. Nice try. Where'd you
Are
get
we
it?
able to go?
home children. I am